Once again, thank you everybody for joining us. My name is Shane Brewer, and I know I speak for the World Affairs Council when I say I thank all of you for your interest in our upcoming trip to Morocco in 2022. I think you're going to find that it's a very exciting travel opportunity, especially in the new year upcoming. It'll be a very unique trip to a place that many of us have a certain understanding of the history of the area, but with this trip offering, it'll be very immersive and provide you a different outlook on an area that many people have not had the opportunity to travel to. I would ask just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Please make sure that you reserve all questions until the end of the information session. And if you could, just in the interest of crosstalk, make sure that your mics and your microphones are kind of muted for the duration of the info session. And with that, Ilias, I'll let you get started. And you have the floor.
Sure, thanks. So hello again, everyone. I am Ilias, and I guess a number of you already know me, and I know you. We have been in various trips in the past and various sessions like this one. And I am from Tourcom. We are located in Jersey, New Jersey, and we have been operating the tours for World Affairs Council of Houston since 2007. So behind me, the background, this is not Jersey City, obviously. This is Marrakesh, an overview of the city with Atlas Mountains in the background. This tour to Morocco, this will be in October of 2022, starting 19th of October 2022, so about exactly 1 year from now. And for the 2022 season, we have a very nice lineup. I'm sure you are checking the travel pages of World Affairs Council and see all the tour lineup. And we'll start with Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and Dubai in January. And at the end of the season, for the moment, we have Morocco in October. So what I'm going to do is, in a short while, I will share my screen with you, and I will go over the itinerary, giving some background, some historical information, and information about the places that we are going to visit. The detailed itinerary is on the website of World Affairs Council. You can go to travel pages and download the itinerary to read at your convenience. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. And here it is. Oh, sorry. It happens all the time. Here it comes, and so I hope everybody can see my screen and the start, the title page of the presentation, Morocco. October 18 to 30th of 2022, 13 days and 11 nights in Morocco. The subtitle, Where Islam Reaches the Atlantic. That is an important theme, I guess, especially for those of you who have been to the Middle East, to various Islamic countries, from Turkey to Saudi Arabia, to Jordan, to Egypt. The eastern part of the Islamic world is more visible, more known to world than the western part. The western part of North Africa. So here is the general map of the region and of Morocco. We see Morocco in the northwestern part of African continent. There is Atlantic Ocean to the west, and there is Mediterranean to the north. surrounded by Algeria on the eastern side, and Western Sahara, Mauritania to the south. This is kind of a problematic region. There are border disputes, so that is still going on. And to the north, there is Gibraltar, Straits, and Spain to the north of that. So this positioning, of course, has a deep impact in the history of this part of the world and of Morocco as a country. Now, the population of Morocco is about 37 million, and it's about 275,000 square miles. And we will fly into, let's just zoom in a little bit. We will fly into Casablanca here, which is, of course, a famous city. We will start with Casablanca, and then we will end up with Casablanca. We will fly into Casablanca as the main international airport is there, but we will not spend time there at the beginning. We will drive directly to Rabat, the capital of the country. Now, here is Rabat, and this is the third biggest city in the country, about 600,000 people. It is on the shore of the Atlantic Ocean, founded around or at the beginning of 12th century. Now, we will just talk about the history a little bit. Now, Islam started in Saudi Arabia, Mecca, Medina region by the 8th century, and very rapidly, the religion and spread out to the east and to the west. So by the end of 8th and beginning of 9th century, it was already in Western Africa and crossing the Gibraltar Straits into Spain and formed the Umayyad Caliphate in today's Andalusia in Spain. This was the first wave. And by 12th century, when the Crusades started, one route of the Crusades from North Anatolia, going all the way to the Holy Lands, trying to capture the Holy Lands back from the Muslim population. And the other wave was to the south, towards Morocco. So there was an immigration back to today's Morocco. And it was then that a number of the main cities of Morocco were founded. So Rabat is one of those cities that was founded in its recent history at the beginning of 12th century. So this is a panoramic view of the city, what is called the old city actually, Kasbah Udaya. This was, we see the city walls here and the whitewashed houses in the background. So this is one of the main attractions, main historic structures in the city, Tur Hassan. Now, I have to remind that most of the names in Morocco today, well, of course, they are Arabic, but they are kind of French-ized Arabic, I should say. So Tur Hassan is Hassan Tower. This is actually a minaret that was, again, built around 1195 AD, which was supposed to be 60 meters high, but the construction was could not be completed, so it's now about 40 meters high. So we will visit the historic sites in the city, and including the mausoleum of Mohammed V, who is the current king's grandfather. Well, as I'm sure you know, Morocco is a constitutional monarchy, so there is a king. Current king is Muhammad VI, and the mausoleum here was built for his grandfather, and then his father was also buried here. Now, during our visit, there are certain locations that non-Muslims are not allowed to enter. So we will be able to see the mausoleum, but the actual chamber inside, um, we won't be able to go in. Now, just next to Rabat, actually, the old city, Sala Colonia. Now, the history of this area actually goes back all the way to Phoenicians. Phoenicians going back to 6th, 7th century BC. The origin is what is today's Lebanon, so Eastern Mediterranean. And this was a seafaring ethnic group, a a nation of merchants, and they sailed all across the Mediterranean, forming various trading colonies around the Anatolian coast, North African coast, and what is today's Italy and France. So this areas, they just crossed the straits and went out to the ocean along the coast and came to what is today Rabat to form a trade colony. So that is how the city was founded. And afterwards, it was a Roman port. And from 1st century BC all the way to the end of, even after the end of the official end of the Roman Empire till 5th century AD, it was occupied by the Romans. And by the 2nd century AD, it was already a center of Christianity. So we will visit this Sala Colonia, what is the remaining part of the Roman excavation. And after our 2 nights in Rabat, we will drive from Rabat to Fez. Now, there are what are called 4 imperial cities of Morocco: Rabat, Fez, Meknes, and Marrakesh. So those were all imperial capitals in history at one time or another. So in our tour, we will be able to visit all 4 of these old imperial capitals. So Fez being one of them. On the way, now driving, the scenery is totally beautiful. Now, the country actually, on one side, just faces the ocean. On the other side, faces the Sahara Desert. And in between, there are mountain ranges, the most well-known of which is the Atlas Mountains, which we will cross twice, actually. So this is before the Atlas Mountains, going inland from the ocean. The scenery is really very beautiful, all green. What we see here, olive groves in the foreground. Now, agriculture after tourism is one of the main economic activity in Morocco. And Morocco is well known for its various fruits. I'm sure you have those sweet mandarins in the supermarkets that you must have seen, very sweet. Most of them either they come from Spain or from Morocco. The sardines, just fishing is a big industry too. And olives, they have very good quality olives, and olive oil production is also one of the main economic activities. So on the way, we will stop at Meknes, one of the 4 imperial cities of Moroccan history. This was built or founded actually as a military settlement in the 11th century by the founder of Alawite dynasty in the mid 17th century by Mullah Ismail. And it was a palace complex. So we are going to visit this palace complex with its big audience halls and also the mausoleum of Mulai Ismail from 17th century. As you see, the architecture is the old tile work and the designs. You can see all the influence of the Umayyads from Andalusia, from Spain, and the Arabic influence from the East. An interesting mixture that we're going to learn about. So this is the monumental tomb, the mausoleum of the founder of the dynasty of the 17th century, Mullah Ismail. Again, all decorations inside. Sorry, went back, going forward. Then we'll continue our drive towards Fez, visiting a Roman city, Volubilis. Now, Volubilis, this was a founded actually not as a Roman city, but as a Berber city. Berbers were and still are, they were the original settlers of this area, northwestern part of the continent. Then from 1st century AD onward, Romans conquered the place and it became a Roman settlement. Now, it is a very extensive archaeological site, which we are going to see. And as you can see on top of this column, a pair of storks. The area is also, Morocco is also on the migration path of migratory birds. In winter, south along from Spain, from Europe, northern Europe, crossing Gibraltar to northern Africa towards Egypt, and in winter all the way back. What we see here now is the Arch of Caracalla, the Roman emperor of the end of 2nd century. And Caracalla, if you have been to Rome, there are Caracalla baths. If you've been to Ankara, Turkey, there are Caracalla baths over there too. And Caracalla Arch, which was constructed during one of his visits in Volubilis in Morocco. The important point with Morocco is it just during the trip, we'll be able to see the history in various phases, from Romans to Byzantine to various stages of Islamic empires to today's modern Morocco. So in that sense, it is going to be extremely interesting. Again, in Volubilis, there are quite a number of mosaics from 2nd century AD that are totally intact, and we'll be able to see and get information about these. This is a Four Seasons mosaic in one of the villas in the old Roman settlement. Then we'll continue to Fez, the second biggest city of Morocco. Population is about, or a little bit more than 1 million. Now, this was founded as a capital city, so that is why it is one of the 4 imperial cities, founded around 789, that is the end of 8th century AD, by Idris I. And as we see from the aerial photo here, some of the city walls are intact, and it is like an open air museum, especially in the old city. This is another view of the city from one of the old historic gates. And now, as we close up, as we start visiting the city, the old city with its winding roads, there's no vehicle traffic still, so local transportation carrying goods are by donkeys or horses or sometimes camels. Now, what we see here in the foreground, these are tanneries. And now Moroccan leather, that is quite well known, as I'm sure you know. Just another close up here. So in Fez, in certain parts of the old city, these tanneries are still functioning as they have been for hundreds of years. Now, the Moroccan leather, Marocain in French, right? This was mainly exported to Europe in medieval times. But although the processing was done in Morocco, in Fez, the leather itself was brought in from Nigeria, originally goat skin and later sheep and calf skin um, was processed here. Um, it was very soft and dyed in various colors to be used for clothing or bags or shoes and exported to Europe. Now we will see a short movie just showing this region here and one of the official tourism movies created by the Moroccan Tourist Authority. We'll see some view of Fez and the region, just very short. So we will spend one full day and 2 nights in Fez. This is one of the good parts of the trip, actually. Just we will be spending 2 nights each in Rabat, in Fez, and then 3 nights in Marrakesh. So that kind of slows down the pace, and we'll be able to spend more time in the cities, and we won't have to pack up every morning. So that is another good part. In Fez, we will start our visit with a museum, the Arbatha Museum. This was a Moorish palace, which was built quite recently, I should say, compared to the general history of the country, about 100 years ago. So we will visit this palace, and we will visit the Place El Najjarin, which means carpenters souk. Now, souk is in especially medieval times, different trades were segregated and they were given various neighborhoods. So carpenters would be in one neighborhood, coppersmiths would be in another neighborhood, ironsmiths would be in a different neighborhood. So this is the place where carpenters were. And carpentry, as I'm sure you see, is quite important with all these intricate woodwork. So we will see various examples of good woodwork all around. Here is one, for example. This is inside a madrasa, Madrasa Bouinania, which was built in 1357. Now, of course, when we say madrasa, we always think about the religious schools. Now we see in various forms in news. Well, in the past, madrasas were not only for religious purposes, they were just universities that students went to study astronomy, languages, literature, and of course, religion. But this was a place of education, higher education of 14th century. So Fez, we'll also see the royal palace. This is Dar al Mahsen, King's Palace. Of course, we won't be able to go inside, but just see it from outside. And we'll also visit the Jewish quarter of Fez. There was a considerable Jewish population. First Jewish population actually arrived from Spain at the end of 15th century, when during the Inquisition and when the Jewish population was expelled at the same time, a big number just sailed all the way to Eastern Mediterranean, and they were accepted by Ottoman Empire and settled down there. And a significant part also came down south to Morocco and settled down in Fez. In 1950s, the Jewish population in Fez was around 300,000. That's quite a big number. But with the establishment of Israel, most of them moved there. And in 1960s, there were only 5,000 left. So we will see the neighborhood, visit one of the synagogues that is still functioning, and learn about Jewish history in the region. So from Fez, after 2 nights, we will drive crossing the Atlas Mountains to Erfurt. Now, as you see in this map, now this green area, these are low areas towards the ocean and Mediterranean Sea. We'll climb up. This is one of the long drives. This is a full day drive. Of course, we'll see a bunch of things on the way, and the scenery is extremely beautiful, but we will drive from low areas up high, crossing the Atlas Mountains and all the way to Erfurt. That is the gateway to Sahara Desert. So we'll end up in Erfurt first. So we will see a bunch of Berber villages. We may have a chance to visit one of them on the way. And climbing up, this is, for example, Ifran. This isn't quite like a traditional Moroccan village. This was built in 1930s, actually a little bit earlier than that, 1910s, by French as a winter, skiing center. So it was built as an alpine village. So today it's also a skiing center. And we will end up in Midelt, in Midway, have lunch there, one of the smaller towns, and driving through the Ziz Gorge, we will end up in Erfurt. Now, these gorges, there are a bunch of them we will drive through on the way east, and then 2 days later on the way west, again crossing the Atlas Mountains. This Atlas Mountain range, it is about 1,500 miles from northeast coming down to southwest. And this Ziz Gorge or Ziz Valley is one of the important passages. There was a tunnel built by the French legionnaires in 1930s, which we will drive close by. And we will end up in the city of Erfurt, which is the gateway to Sahara on the eastern side of the Atlas Mountains. So we will spend the night in Erfurt. It's like an oasis, the town surrounded by agricultural areas, date palms. And the next day, we will drive further into the desert to the western part of Sahara, very close to the border with Algeria, actually. So Sahara, this is, as you know, this is the belts, the desert belts from southern Egypt, Sudan, all the way to here. In this part, it is also called Sahel. Down south, it goes to Mali, and we will see the dunes. We will have 4x4s, SUVs, and we will drive into the dunes. It's also possible to experience a camel ride if you want to, or if you haven't in other destinations. So we will experience the desert and spend the night there. There's no light pollution, so the scene is quite real actually. Just we'll be able to see the Milky Way. At the time of the year, it'll be quite clear, we hope, and all the sand dunes, and we will stay in a desert camp, a luxury the desert camp with the permanent tents, with all facilities inside. So it's going to be a fantastic stay in the desert. So after our stay in Merzouga in the desert, we will start our drive from here to back towards the Atlas Mountains and crossing this time backwards all the way to the small city of Ouarzazate. We will cross again a number of other gorges. This is Todra Gorge, for example, a nice outer-worldly rock formations. And this is the Dade Gorge, which is called the Valley of Thousand Kasbahs. We'll see all those Kasbahs at the end of our drive. This is our second long drive. Again, crossing the mountain just takes time. And we will end up in Ouarzazate with, again, Atlas Mountains, snow-capped in the background. Now, spending the night in Ouarzazate, the next day we will visit a number of Kasbahs and end up in Marrakesh, the fourth of the imperial capitals. Now, Kasbahs, this is, for example, Taourt Kasbah. Kasbah is a fortified village. So just they built the villages in this architectural form with long, tall walls surrounded by shorter walls for defense purposes. Of course, agricultural land was outside. There were small village settlements outside too, but the merchants and some of the population lived inside. And during times of war, the villagers would also come inside for defense purposes. Now, some of them have been renovated. Now, this is Ait Ben Hadou Kasbah, one of the UNESCO heritage sites. So we'll be able to go inside and visit the Kasbahs, what they looked like and how they were used and how they are being used today, still for residential purposes, some of them. A number of the hotels that we are going to stay at actually will be in traditional forms, in traditional architecture, like these. So we will, at the end of our drive, we will end up in Marrakesh. And this is, again, the Atlas Mountains in the background, not a high-rise city. We will visit the city with the Koutoubia Mosque. This is one of the main mosques from the medieval times. And we'll visit one of the palaces, Bahia Palace, with a central courtyard, and the royal tombs of the Saadi dynasty from 14th, 15th centuries. The mausoleums with all intricate work. And at the end of our day, we will visit the souks, of course. Souks, that is the bazaars. And if you have been to other um, Islamic countries, Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, the bazaar in Jeddah, smaller bazaars, or Khan el Khalili in Cairo, for example, very similar, but also different with different artifacts and different souvenirs. So we will have plenty of time to visit the souks, also various sweets and spices. Here, this is a sweet shop. And the main square, the Jamal Fna, the main square of Marrakesh, especially in the evening. That's the main area that everybody, goes out for a promenade. There are street vendors, musicians, acrobats, just all interesting activities that we are going to experience. Now, another good thing is in Marrakesh, we have one full day on our own. So we'll arrive there. We have 3 nights, 2 full days. One of the first day, we will do the visits, see the historic sites, and learn about the history of the city. And the second day is on our own, so there'll be plenty of time to experience this maybe the most interesting city in Morocco. So there's that leisure day. Now we have another short movie. This is about 2 minutes of Marrakesh and the surrounding area. So let's watch. So we have our 3 nights and 2 full days in Marrakesh, and then we will leave Marrakesh for Casablanca, the biggest city in Morocco, population about 4 million, again on the coast of the ocean, Atlantic Ocean. So we will drive, it's not a long drive. This is a general view with Mosque of Hassan II, which is one of the main places that we are going to visit. Now, Casablanca is, of course, the main port and main economic hub of Morocco. So most of the economic activity is in or around Casablanca. This is the mosque that we are going to visit, Hassan II. This we'll be able to go inside. So although Casablanca is, or became, I should say, famous due to the famous Humphrey Bogart movie, just we need to remember that Morocco became a French protectorate in 1912 and gained in its independence in 1956. So the French influence is most visible in this city. So apart from the mosque, we will drive and partly walk in the more modern neighborhoods of Casablanca, just seeing various architectural examples, a mixture of French colonial and Art Deco. So the Art Deco style can be visible in quite a number of various buildings. This is the church, the Cathedral of Sacre-Cœur, again from 1920s, from French times, and a movie theater, totally Art Deco. This could be in Miami. So we will visit the new part of the town. We will spend the night, have our farewell dinner. Now, speaking of farewell dinner, we of course need to talk about Moroccan cuisine. This is a highlight by itself. Just during the tour, we'll have an opportunity to taste various Moroccan dishes. This is, if I'm sure you have tasted before in various Moroccan restaurants, the original thing, of course, over there. Moroccan cuisine, one of my favorites, that is delicious. The various starters from sea, various pies, and this is tagine, slow cooked chicken or beef or sometimes fish in this pot. It is delicious. The taste is a mixture of sweet and sour and partly spicy with cumins and cinnamon. So with olives and almonds. This is called pasty. This is it's just a flaky dough filled with chicken with almond pieces and adorned with almonds on top. And most of the time, they actually put a little bit of confectioner's sugar on top, so like a white peak. And it is sweet and sour at the same time, and sweet and salty at the same time. So Moroccan cuisine, really delicious. And we'll have an opportunity, of course, to taste various dishes during our trip. So our trip ends in Casablanca, and we will fly out of Casablanca, and that will be the end of our trip on October 30th of 2022. Now let me stop sharing my screen and start my video here. So this is going to be an extremely interesting trip, and we'll see various faces of Morocco, as I said, from Roman times all the way to the beginning of Islam and the development of Islamic empires and today's Morocco. So we'll have various opportunities to meet with local people, have lunch at a palace, have lunch at with a Berber family in their homes in a village. The hotels we'll stay at will be really 5-star, very, very nice hotels with local atmosphere and local architecture. So if you have any questions regarding this trip, I will try to answer as much as I can. It's quite early for the trip. I mean, we have 1 year, but we wanted to just put it out there so that, you know, for those of you who make their travel plans far in advance, a year in advance. So just please be aware that there is this Morocco trip coming in October. So make your plans accordingly, and hopefully you are going to join this trip.
What's the price except for airlines?
I'm sorry, airlines?
No. The tour price.
Tour price will be available. Today is Wednesday. By Friday or Saturday, you'll be able to see tour price on the website together with the tour documents.
Okay.
What is flying time from Houston to Casablanca?
Yes. Well, the shortest possible is about 17 hours. Either 1 or 2 stops. Now, 1 stop is via, at the moment, if they don't change the schedule, of course, Delta and Air France. So from Houston to Paris to Casablanca. This is a good route because you arrive in Casablanca in the afternoon around 2:30 or 3 p.m. So the group arrives 2:30, 3 p.m. and then drive from airport to Rabat is about 2 hours. So, you know, by early evening, late in the afternoon, group will be at the hotel. So that is good. Another option is flying from Houston to JFK and taking the direct flight from on Royal Air Maroc from JFK to Casablanca. That's also possible. But that flight arrives very early in the morning, about 8:30 a.m. So as a group flight, we will suggest most probably the Delta Air France flight because of its convenience. And on the way back, again, same. You leave in the morning around 9:30 if it is Air France, and via Paris, arrive in Houston in the evening.
Will the hotels be posted on the website so we can have a look at those?
Yes, they will be. Yep.
Why Tangier is not included? Tangier.
Well, that is quite out of the way. Now, as you see, this is already 11 nights. So including Tangier, that would take at least 2 more nights, which is, you know, 2 days or 3 days extra. With this tour, we cover all the highlights, and Tangier will not add any you know, the additional value will not worth the time that we're going to spend, you know, for the extra 2 or 3 days. So I guess no other questions. Thank you, everybody, for joining this session, and I hope you will all consider this trip. And I hope to see you on this or other trips with World Affairs Council.
Okay, thank you, Elias.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Shane.
Elias. Thank you for the talk.
And good night. See you next time.
Okay.